to the next episode of Over a Pint. This week we're with Kiran Gandhi, a good friend and the original co-founder of Just Sell Homes. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Andrew.
You can't handle this at all. The best part is I'm not cutting that out.
You're an idiot. So thank you so much for having me.
You are going to be a great interview.
Oh shoot. Okay. Absolutely, I love that I'm here, that you're doing this. It's great. And did you want me to introduce myself at this point?
Yeah, that's what I said. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Should people know me already? Okay, fine. So I have been in the industry for just over 5 years, I should say, in various facets. And I love the industry. It's treated me very, very well. So from sales to training, I've kind of bounced back and forth between the two. And as of this year, I've been doing trainings and consulting a lot more actively and primarily, I should say.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So this week, drinking one of my favorite beers, Mill Street Organic.
Okay,
So there you go. Yeah. We're pouring it
All right.
and everything.
Awesome. I don't really drink beer. You should have asked me what I drink first.
You're drinking Mill Street Organic.
I'm more of a tea person. How do you not know this?
Well, it kind of looks like tea. It has the same coloring.
There's a dog hair on this.
That can't be true. It's possible. I'm not gonna lie.
Swear to God. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Perfect. Cheers.
Welcome.
Brilliant. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Do you like it?
Mm-hmm.
See? It's not crap.
Mm-hmm.
That's a stunning review.
Not a beer drinker. What do you want? This is the best you can get out of me. Okay.
So you've been in the industry 5 years.
Yes.
How long? So you went straight into sales?
I actually ended up in the industry by fluke. It was an accident. I was a teacher from back in England, and then I came here, moved to Canada, and my aunt was a real estate agent, so she just said, hey, you should probably get into real estate. So I was like, okay. So I started off with an office, doing their marketing and onboarding, and I was basically managing the office, and then I was like, hey, there's more money on the other side, as we do think.
Mm-hmm.
So then I got licensed, did sales for a bit before doing trainings with you at Remax.
Yeah. Ran Ontario Atlantic.
Oh yeah, we did. And how?
Yeah.
So that's where you had the good fortune of meeting me and working with me.
You were very lucky, yes.
Yes, and then after that, we obviously, whatever little bit I did with Just Sell Homes was great.
And we had a good 3-week run together.
I think so.
Maybe even 4.
I think we stretched it to 4, yeah.
Did we?
I think so.
Oh.
It was fun anyway, and then, but it doesn't really feel like I don't work with you still.
It's true. We basically still talk every day.
We basically still
Yeah.
talk every day, but then I went into sales,
Yeah.
as you know, after that, and as of this year, I've been doing more and more training and consulting, because it's just, I feel like that's my calling, and love it. I love sales now, I love this, so it's great.
So skipping the initial training period where we worked together,
Yeah.
go right into everything after that.
Mhm.
You did kind of sales, so you worked with another agent.
I did, yes.
So what were you, because I know you did a lot with him, so what was kind of your main focus when you worked with him? Because he was, I know, you correct me, he was one of the top agents in his area.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So, I mean, still, I would say one of my mentors in the industry. I learned a great deal from him. My role was primarily just generating more business, making sure that the brand, we create a brand. So he was already doing really well when I first joined him. He was already pretty successful, but it was just a transactional business at that point, I suppose. So, together our efforts were just to create that brand, and that's where I brought in my expertise, whatever little bit I had, to create a brand. And
Expertise.
also, do I look at you or do I look at the camera? Look at you.
You can do anything you want.
Okay, just choose my angle. Okay. So, no, we basically built the brand together from scratch. I had a lot of ideas, a lot of creative marketing ideas, because there's just so much room for that out there. There's not a lot of agents that were doing some of the more creative things. So launched all of that and, built a business, I should say, because what was before just a transactional real estate, I don't even know if that was a business at that point or it can be called a business, but we turned it into a business, and in that, in doing that, and in doing so, we were able to just, increase the business and take it from what it was to where we took it.
So you said you worked a lot on the brand. What did actually that entail?
First, I thought it was just a logo and having some pretty colors. And I, as my previous business partner used to say, he's like, you're in an unhealthy relationship with this whole kind of, logo and color. So for me, it was all about making it look pretty. But I soon realized that a brand is just so much more than that. It's about what you stand for, what your customers' experience is when they get your services and consistently get your services. So kind of letting, you defining yourself and your business and what it's all about is basically what the brand was for us. And we wanted to make that, we wanted to make ourselves known in a way which a logo alone couldn't do, or, And we actually never put our pictures on anything. Our photos, I didn't really say anything about that.
What would I say?
No, we're just like that's leading into something. We never actually put our photos on anything because I didn't feel like that was necessary, and we were still able to, make our presence known and create a brand from where, when people would walk into a home, they would be able to tell, oh, this belongs to them,
How'd you do that?
By implementing creative marketing, but consistently implementing creative marketing. So from custom signs to custom brochures to custom notes throughout the house to making sure that we have the same air freshener in every single listing as well. So, going into such depth and detail, because when a buyer walks through a home, they're using all of their senses, they're listening, and so having nice music playing, the smell, the way it looks. So it's all, it's a comprehensive kind of a thing that we had to put together to deliver that brand experience through that. And, we wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't have systems in place that helped us do it consistently.
So is that something you do now, helping people implement? Because I know you don't do as much work with him anymore.
No, I do absolutely, yeah. So I help agents that want to kind of build that business, because there's a lot of agents out there that are doing really well, but they kind of reach a point where they get exhausted, they get burnt out, they're really good at what they do, but they're really good at selling and not building a business. So we kind of have to go back to the basics and build a foundation and bring some systems into place which allow them to in turn be more efficient, allow them in turn to, grow and, like a scalable business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You do a lot of new agent training. I know a lot of brokers bring you in to do that. So if you today were a new agent, you went to a new area, say you moved here from another country, had no database, what's day 1 to 90 look like?
As opposed to what it actually looked like?
Yeah.
Bloody hell. What it actually looked like was me standing in front of a Walmart kiosk in the winter, just talking to people, hoping that somebody wants to buy or sell a house. But with absolutely no training, no strategy, nothing in place. I was lucky that I closed the business that I did. I guess it's because I'm so charming and have a great personality.
Sure.
So, and I'm really modest about it too.
Yeah, I can tell.
So, no, but all jokes aside, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and I think that's something I can, I empathize with agents that are new to the industry, because I understand that, what we learn or what we think this business is going to be all about, it's actually a lot more than that. So if I could go back and start from scratch, I think the first thing I would do is actually run it like a business. Run it like a business, and I know I've said this before, but I think this is really key here, making sure that I understand the processes fully, that I don't just look at myself as a sales representative, because even though that's our title, we're way more than that. We're advisors, we guide people through things, we're barely helping, we're just facilitating a transaction, and there's so much more that goes into it. So I think I would understand what this business is about, understand what my role really is, and put those systems in place, make sure I understand how to do transactions, make sure I understand and familiarize myself with, a lot of what the real business out there is. I would shadow somebody, absolutely, if I had the opportunity to go back to do, and I would just find a mentor, because there is nothing that I'm not going to say nothing, but there's very little that I learned during my academic learnings that I was able to apply. Everything I learned was hands-on from my mentor, who wasn't very nice all the time, but I learned it anyway, and I was able to, grasp it. I think if I could go back, one of the things that he taught me, which I ingrained in my DNA, was making sure I learned my market really, really well off the get-go.
Yeah.
A lot of agents don't do that, so really learn your market, identify where you want to do business, and learn your market, like absorb it, check it 5-6 times a day, what came on the market. Go out there, take a look at what new houses came on the market. This is something that I was taught that I hated doing at the beginning, to the point where I had to put reminders on my phone to remind me to check MLS for solds and availables 5 times a day, and then 3 times a day for solds, and I'm glad I did it, because it became a habit very quickly, and that's the only way I was able to deliver the services that I was able to deliver, is by having that knowledge. I feel that a lot of new agents feel that somebody's already doing so well and they have the experience, but really consumer expectations have shifted. People don't necessarily go with whoever's name they see on a billboard. People want to go with people who have expertise and who can relate to them as people, and that's what matters more to people, I feel, these days, rather than just going with whoever they see, whoever's flyers they pick up, or whatever,
So I know, still even today, you get recruited by teams a lot.
Yeah.
How would you look from a new agent, whether they should try to go solo or try to join a team?
I mean, it's a preference thing. I think teams are absolutely an amazing structure to be a part of. If you can find the right team culture that fits your personality, if you can find the right team leader that is willing to teach you, I think absolutely that's a great way for you to start as a new agent. And not just as a new agent, if you find that you gel in well with that team, then continue to do business with that team. I think, it's not about your ego, it's about the business, right? So, and I think for a new agent, absolutely, that's a great strategy.
So I know when you work with that guy and you do a lot of your training, you do a ton of lead conversion, which is one of your specialties. I know teams now bring you in to talk about it. So and this is literally the biggest struggle for people in the industry. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at lead conversion, kind of what's your mindset going into it?
Lead conversion. Okay, so this is something I learned at a very young age, because my first ever job in Vienna, when I first started, I think I was 16 at the time, was in a call center, making outbound phone calls. So I've been doing this for a very long time. So
what were you selling?
What was I selling? Anything and everything. So we were just a call center, and different companies would come in and they would have a product or a service that we would have to promote. And you just learn about the product and you start making phone calls and you take it from there. And I did very well with that too. So I think the most important thing when doing lead conversion, and the funny thing is when I go into offices, before I even go into anything, I do a live role play where I ask agents I pretend to be an asshole client or an asshole lead, which is how people mostly are, right? Vague, not giving you any answers, just are you, are you the fake CRA? Do you, I don't want my duct to clean, then, leave me alone. So that's kind of the mindset that people are in. So every time I have done this without fail, and very few, I would say maybe 5% of agents have actually gotten it somewhat right in the first go. They just go straight into, so you signed up for my ad, what are you looking for? What's your criteria? How can I help you? What's your budget? And everybody just dives straight, they go straight for the kill.
Yeah.
And when they don't get the response that they want, they just say the lead's shit, basically. It's a bad lead.
Yeah,
online leads don't work. Exactly.
They're shit. They're shit. They don't want to talk to me and whatever. So I think for me it's something that didn't happen overnight. Over time I had a system going. So the number one thing was for me to, get yourself in the right frame of mind before making phone calls. Don't just make phone calls on the fly. Don't do them while you have 20 minutes between showings to just sit in your car and make phone calls. I understand sometimes that's how it ends up happening, but another thing I found, and I know this is going against every online statistic that there is, call your lead as soon as possible. Just because you just got your lead doesn't mean you should call them as soon as possible. My experience is sometimes when you call them too soon, you creep them out a little bit,
whatever material you have sent them, they may not even have had a chance to look at it properly. So you have to give people a moment to digest, to absorb whatever it is that you've sent them. And obviously don't wait 2 days to call them. Call them shortly after that. But there is the whole, I don't know, in my experience that hasn't really been so great.
So how long do you normally wait until you call?
I have set calling times. So I know I'm calling twice a day. Once during the early part of the day, once during the evening, and even later on during the evening after, I've made phone calls all the way up until 9 p.m. and I've had conversations with people.
Yeah.
And sometimes they actually have better conversations towards the latter part of the day, or even when they're on their commute back from home. So, back from work, sorry. So yeah, mindset, going back to the biggest things, mindset, really understanding that, you're not going in for the kill. You go in trying to establish some credibility and rapport with that person. This person on the other end has no idea who you are, what you want, and anything about you. So sometimes I end up speaking to the other person about their child, their dog, what they're cooking for dinner, the weather, all sorts of different things. And it was interesting. I did the session in one of my training sessions, and then I had an Asian like, if I talk about the dog for half an hour, that's steering away. How am I going to reel that person back into the real estate conversation? I'm like, maybe the purpose of that call isn't for you to do that. Maybe the purpose of that call is just for you to build rapport with them. And then you follow up, send them something of value, and then follow up with them. And maybe at that time you speak to them, but give them an opportunity to just get to know you, warm up to you. It's like dating, right? So, I've done that, and I think that has been the biggest success factor, whichever I had, was me being patient and me going in not with the intention of just going straight for the kill and asking a bunch of questions about their price range and this and that, but just being patient, I think, with the process.
That's good.
Yeah.
And at what point then are you going in for the kill, basically?
There is no point. You just have to read the other person. And I know it sounds really weird, but you can read the other person. You can read the person on the other side. If someone tells you, hey, I've got 60 seconds on the dot, like, okay, hold on a second, let me get my timer out. I'm going to make sure I get you off the phone in 58 seconds. Yeah. So that kind of just adds a little bit of humor to it, and you know when it's the right moment, or they'll start talking about it.
Yeah.
If they start to warm up to you, they'll start talking about it. I've had leads on the other end literally tell me, so I think we should do this in person because, I'd really rather sit down and go over this.
And the teams that you've worked with and you've been working on lead conversion, where are they getting most of their leads?
I tell them to do Facebook ads as much as possible. Yeah. But yeah, Facebook ads, they have leads in their database from Google AdWords. I guess a lot of them have traffic going to their website. That's, people subscribing on the site to see more information about listings and stuff. So they have a bunch of those leads as well. A lead's a lead, right? Yeah. Whether it came from here or there, it's a lead.
Yeah. And I know, similar to me, you go and you meet a lot of top producers, which is different than what a lot of agents get to do. Because generally they deal with the top producers locally, maybe at the odd convention, whereas we can, every week, sit down with some of the top people. So what have you found dealing with them are kind of the similarities across top producing agents? Similarities,
okay. The things that we talk about that we should all be doing, they do them. They just do them.
That's it. Done.
We can talk about the things, but in essence, I think they just take action.
Yeah.
They take action. They know how to run a business. They have a bigger vision than just what transaction am I closing next.
Yeah.
They have a vision. They have a vision that goes beyond the next year, 2 years. Maybe it extends as far as 10 years. They know where they're headed, they know what they need to do, and they actually do it. And they're not afraid to outsource things that they don't know how to do well.
So they can just sell homes.
They can hire just sell homes. Exactly. They're not afraid to.
Shameless plug, just shameless.
You are a shameless person. So no, honestly, and they don't take shortcuts. And from my own personal experience, when I first started, when we were first setting up our website, the first website we set up, we hired a student, paid him $2,500 for a WordPress website, which we thought was a great thing to do. hey,
I think I remember that site.
yeah, it was a great site. And you know, the amount of time and energy that went into trying to cut corners and hiring people that don't know what they're doing, it was just not worth it in the long run. You know, in the end, a good website did end up costing us probably 10 times as much. But hey, that was, that's what top producers don't look at things as expenses, rather they look at it as an investment, I think, because they know that that's going to bring them, that's going to in turn help them grow their business. Huge amount of motivation and discipline. I don't think that, you know, that's something that they have ingrained. When I remember when we started to kind of get our ducks in a row and, you know, really gear up to success, we would have to have that discipline, be at the office early in the morning, really early starts, having a structure to your day, and the biggest thing is systems. I think I don't know any top producing team that doesn't have systems.
Yeah, because like I know with our business, that's like our past 6 months has just been implementing, improving, working on it.
Yeah.
Like it's been crazy, but it's been a lot better.
Oh no, I know.
Once they're in there, it's say like, and even the other side is like, you look at some, for instance, one of our clients, it's 2 agents.
Mm-hmm.
They have, and 2 admins. They do 150 deals a year.
Oh wow.
But they've got it down.
They've got it down pat where they know what their system is and how to do it.
They basically don't even take on buyers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They have their system and they do like, but then you see other teams, like I know there's another team that we had worked with in the past, 200 deals a year, so similar.
Yeah.
18 people on the team.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like
see, it's all about efficiency, like completely different structure.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, one person, honestly, one agent on their own, they have a cap to how much money they can make before they burn out completely and start hating the world for it.
Yeah.
You know, having that is really, really important. Not being afraid to grow and understanding, I think, that you cannot do this all on your own.
Yeah.
It's just not possible.
So when you, similar to me as well, like we go to a lot of conferences.
Yeah.
And I know agents are encouraged to go to a lot of them, just from the networking side, from all the other different sides.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the content, it ends up being pretty similar at a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you say to an agent looking to go to conferences to actually make it worth their time?
Network, I think. I mean, how do you make it worth your time? You know what? Okay, so yes, from a content perspective, I mean, we have our own opinion when it comes to that. I don't know if we should be talking about that necessarily, but there's always nuggets that you can pick up. I think there's always nuggets that you can pick up, and even if it's just reinforcement, even if it's stuff that you don't know, you know, even if I learn one thing from a conference, it's worth for me to go. And I think that as real estate agents, we don't work for a company that sends us to, you know, conferences or that sends us to professional development. We're in charge of our own professional development. So that accountability is on our part. So what are we doing about that? And I think the great opportunity, the first thing I said was networking. And going back to that, you know, you don't know who you're going to meet there, and you don't know how they're running their business. And just by having that conversation with them, you don't know what you're going to pick up for your business. So absolutely worth it. Every training I go to, I encourage agents like, there's this conference, go attend it. Do they show up?
Really? Well, that's like the interesting thing that I find too is like, like even like the city of Toronto, a lot of agents don't go to conferences in Toronto. That's super convenient. Mm-hmm. But there's so much more value if they went to like Ottawa. Yeah. And went to the conference there. Like we're doing the Emerge tour together.
Yes. Again.
How many, is this your second time doing it?
This is my third time.
Third time, it's my third too.
Yeah.
At least 3 times in 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
So this is 3rd straight year for you, though,
yeah,
right?
that's straight year for me. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Not because you're going to be there, but I'm excited.
That's the only reason you're coming. But so like this is like one thing I was talking about with people is like don't go to the one closest to you. Like sure, be happy they're bringing one to your area, but go to the other ones because it's your colleagues that aren't going to refer you there unless you're a team leader and you want to recruit.
100%. I mean, there's so much value in going to out of town. I mean, one of my goals over the next 5 years for my business is to travel to other countries to see how real estate is done out there. Because I'm pretty sure, you know, just how we look outside of our industry to see ideas on how people are running their business, other industries. You never know what you're going to pick up. I think as agents, we're just so inclined to looking within, what's the top producer in our market doing? Let's just mimic that, you know. Why recreate the wheel? But I think sometimes you have to
I think it's also
do that.
dangerous to copy top producers because you don't know that every piece they're doing works. Like,
No.
I remember there was one I was working with this agent. They were doing hundreds of deals a year. When I came aboard, I kind of did a social media audit. And I realized none of the stuff they did on social had ever worked.
Yeah.
Like, it was complete failure up until that point. But I still found probably 15 local agents who copied everything they did on social media because they assumed that's what worked.
And that's the
crazy.
thing, you know, you just make that assumption. You think that's what's going to work, and I think there is no, and again, understanding, yeah, we have rules and regulations that we have to stick to, but there really is no norm. You're running your own business. There is nothing stopping you from doing things out of the box, doing things differently. Try it out. If it doesn't work, don't do it again. If it works, continue doing it. But I think we're just so, there's a little bit of a fear, especially with your agents, just to kind of, they feel like they have to fit into a certain way of doing things, and there isn't.
No, it's kind of crazy.
It is, if you think about it, but...
Well, like, there's so many times I see, like, we have people copy our own stuff and be like, why isn't it working for me? I'm like, because you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
You have to understand the logic behind it. Like, I was talking to people, and, like, I realized there's a debate on, like, should you put your business card on your marketing, or should you put your picture on your marketing, and, like, if you ask a lot of people who even have it, the reason they give is everyone else was doing it.
So why do it? Yeah.
But they never thought of the reason for it. Like, there is a good reason to have it there. Like, you can make an argument either way, but there actually is a legitimate argument if you think about it. But it's amazing how many have never thought about it but still do it.
Yeah, they just do it because they think that that's how it's done.
Yeah, or
my
like...
first for sale sign had I had that. Like,
I remember it.
I had that.
It was
that post, that post I had.
Someone else, you know, friend took a picture for you. Yeah. Well, it's funny, when I first got into the industry, and I want to find these pictures. So when I first got in, my sister was actually licensed, and we were gonna team up to the point that we did team photos in front of my parents' house, and my mom took them. So we had like this classic like back to back, like standing in front of the red door. Oh, I don't know what happened to those photos.
Super
That'd be amazing. I think our team lasted 3 days.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
so that's commendable for your sister to have lasted 3 days with you.
Longer than most.
Oh gosh. It's so
Sure, you lasted longer than my sister.
I actually did.
Yeah.
I'm still around somehow.
Now I have no part. That works for me.
That works for you, No, quite honestly, like, you know, the decision not to put, for instance, the for sale signs that we did, right? I was adamant we have to put the property pictures on the actual for sale sign. We're gonna stand out.
Yeah. Well, like, remember the first person I ever saw do that was Matt Richling in Ottawa.
Oh yeah, right.
And I love, like, when I first saw it, I was like, I just never thought of that. I was like, that's genius.
It is, and it works so well, and nobody in that market was doing that. And
in almost any market, there's almost no one doing
nobody doing that.
Nobody gets custom for every house.
It's a pain in the behind to coordinate, but it's so worth it.
But if you find a good local person, you're sending them that much business.
Oh yeah, we did. Like, our office was pretty good at that. So we had it down packed. Like, we knew photos are coming in at 1 p.m. By 2 p.m. we designed the sign, send it off to print, next day morning it arrives. So we had a system going. But
like even like these glasses, I can get them, like we just ordered another like 4 dozen, and I can get them in like 3 days now. Yeah. Like, you're consistently doing that business.
Consistently doing that,
But also, like, have you ever read the book Never Split the Difference?
No.
That's one of the ones. There's an FBI hostage negotiator who talks about like negotiating, but doing it for business, and that's one of his things is mirroring.
Oh my God, mirroring is so important. I will.
Especially because you're talking about negotiation.
I am.
Across Ontario in the fall at the Emerge conference in Ottawa, Durham, London, and the Lakelands, which is like a really Muskoka.
I was going to ask you, where is Lakelands?
The Lakelands, there's lakes.
And there's land.
Yeah, right there. So I realize in Ontario there's a few lakes, so it really could be a wide area.
Awesome.
But yeah, at least we're like pretty this year. It's pretty, besides Ottawa,
it's really
close to us for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it'll be fun. I'm really excited about that. But no, going back to mirroring, I think that is really important. This is why I absolutely despise scripts for the life of me.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need a little bit of a guideline, like you need to know what to say. And I think more than knowing what to say, I think you need to know why you're calling the other person. I think you need to know what your motivation, you just need to know what their motivation was behind signing up for whatever it is that they signed up. I think that's if you can get to that, rather than anything else. Because if you can find out a person's motivation, then you can steer the conversation whichever way you want to, rather than just assuming something. You know, I may have signed up to receive an information about a listing, doesn't necessarily mean I'm looking to buy a house.
Yeah.
So
I'm just curious, just nosy.
Just nosy, and you know what? And that's another thing. You will get that as an answer
Yeah.
a lot of times. No, we're not ready yet. We're just looking.
I think like that, I know he's actually in an interview. It's probably aired the week before yours will air with Dean Jackson.
Oh yeah.
And that was an interesting one. Actually, it's not in the actual episode itself. It's something because we had lunch after.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't even know if we talked about it over lunch. But I'll tell the story. But I've talked about it with him before. Because in the past little while, I've talked to him a lot. And it's about a leather couch company. And he's like, when you think about going into a company, and like you go to a retail store, they come up to you, they're like, "How can I help? Can I help you?"
Mm-hmm.
Your almost default response every time is, "Nope, just
I'm
looking,
okay, I'm
just browsing." So what he's like, so you switch it. So like what this coach company had was they sold leather couches. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to the showroom, every leather couch you can imagine, and then on the back wall there's like 5 different types of leather.
Mm-hmm.
And every version of every couch, like any couch you could get, any type of leather that was there, and they had every single version in the factory in the back.
Oh wow.
So it was huge.
Mm.
So what he got them to switch and say instead of "Can I help you today?" was, "What brings you in?"
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, "Oh, I'm looking for a red leather couch." But then they go, "Okay, so let me explain how we do it here."
Mm-hmm.
So you can see we have all the couches here. All of them are available in those couches out back.
Mm-hmm.
And we have every single version in the back so you can take it home with you today.
Oh wow.
And it was just like this switch of let's hit every single objection they have right off of the front.
Yeah.
And now they're all gone.
Now they're all
Because
gone.
it's like, because what happens is people were coming in before being like, "I want a red leather couch." They don't see a red leather couch. They just turn around and leave, not knowing they could get any couch in there in red and bring it home with them today. Because that's what people want. They want to go in, they want to get it, and they want to go home today with it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So it was like this
Great.
little switch, and like I love that type of like look at things. Like even another one of like, have you ever heard of like wine stores?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my favorite things. If they play Italian music,
Yeah.
they sell Italian wines.
Yeah.
If they play
So
Spanish
it's like
music,
that.
Spanish wines. So I've always thought about like how could we do that?
In real estate.
Yeah, like what could you put in like an open house?
Pictures of if you have another listing. I mean, I know it's not necessarily.
But that doesn't like that's not because it's selling another house. So, I mean, like, what could you put to sell that house with like the Italian wine thing? And I don't know what the answer is, but
That's an interesting approach. I mean, we did custom notes throughout the house.
yeah,
And having people kind of, but you know, even when people read that, I get what you're saying, like, you know, more of like from a listening and seeing type of a perspective, because that's a subconscious thing that's happening. You don't consciously do that.
yeah, it's like because like the Italian music and the Italian wines, it's like, but no real house really has a theme song.
There is no theme song.
Yeah. So the only thing I could think of would be like if it's like a house that's great for entertaining, you play party music.
Yeah.
If it's maybe things like that, but
You could. I think it's just stuff that, you know, no one's done it. So hey, why not experiment?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You gotta test it out. Like we've done that where I've played other listing stuff, and you know that hasn't really worked as well because, like you said, kind of distracts them from where they're at. When your focus is that listing, they just want it. But if you have a really nice virtual tour for that property, play it on the TV. It doesn't matter if you've got an interview with the homeowners.
do you put things on the TV during the open house?
Yes.
Like what?
Absolutely, like the virtual tour.
Of that house.
Of that house. A community tour, if you have a community tour, if you have a video about the city, whatever you have really that's kind of relevant to living there, because, you know, lifestyle stuff, because if they're going to be, like if they're from out of town and they're moving to that town, if you have a really nice video that's of the town, it kind of warms them up to that place. It brings that community feel. And if you can, you know, it depends on the size of the community that you're in. If you're downtown, maybe you just do like a community video. The schools, the markets, things to do, and I think that really engages people. people. I've done that. It really engages people.
So I've heard you in the past talk about the wall analogy.
You could have done that better. What's wrong with you?
Well, I should cut that first part out. I got a great blooper reel on this one.
Oh well, that you have heard me speak about. Oh god. Basically something I came up with because I feel like, again, being on the phone with people a lot and, you know, converting a lot of leads, I feel that as soon as you start talking to people, I just, in my head, and I know it sounds a little bit weird, but in my head I start envisioning myself and the other person who I'm speaking to, and I can almost feel, but with what I'm saying, they're almost trying to push me away right away.
No.
So they're building up a wall. It's like a wall starts to build. So my goal is the moment I start feeling that wall building, I kick it down, I maybe divert the conversation into something else, or I ask them a question, or I sidetrack them so that they get distracted from that, you know, go away, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to buy a house. So then I start to kind of engage with them in different ways. If you ask the wrong questions or too many questions too soon, game over. The wall's so high, so quick, that you cannot kick it down. I think, you know, you just have to, like, I keep kicking it down, I keep kicking the bricks down, and as I go along.
Need a dragon.
Yeah, or a dragon. Yeah, but no, seriously.
It's Game of Thrones reference.
I know, and I actually watched some of it, and they were too gory for me, and just ridiculous, too much incest. What the
There's
hell?
only a little incest.
It's pretty bad.
It's like one episode.
It's pretty bad. It's good though, but it's bad.
That's gonna be a great cut. There's only a little incest.
Okay, no, but like that's what's helped me a lot, and I think that I read this great thing about leak vision a long time ago where they say that you should time out your asks throughout the conversation. So your asks should be spaced out strategically. So you don't ask, like, you ask the first question within the first week, after the first 2 minutes, and then you wait. So the longer you are on the phone to them, the higher your chances of actually getting them as a client eventually, is because even if that conversation is about, you know, what they're cooking at home and it takes them somewhere else, because in my experience, one lady invited me over for dinner, no lies. She was cooking and she's like, well, I'm cooking, I can't really talk right now. It went from her saying, I can't really talk right now, I'm cooking, to me asking, you're so lucky, I'm really hungry and I'm making phone calls right now, so I'm working, what are you cooking? To her feeling kind of bad for me, I think, that I was still hungry.
So you manipulated this poor old woman.
Into actually buying an investment property with us because she fell in love with me. To the point where she put her phone on speakerphone next to her while she continued to cook and tell me all about her recipe and this and that, and then talked about her. I think I was on the phone to her for a really long time, which ended up to an invite to her house, which ended up to her telling her husband how amazing I am, and ended up meeting with us and buying the property.
Yes. Now, how long from like when you first started contact till they bought? Did that
It
take?
takes time. It does take time. Again, you have to build that rapport. You have to be patient. Cannot give up on them. I think with her it was like a case of 3 to 4 touch points. Some people it takes 7 to 10 touch points between phone calls, text messages, emails, and that is okay.
Yeah.
That is okay. Sometimes people will say no first, then change their mind. I think it's all about how you manage them while they're in that buying cycle.
Yeah.
Because there's somewhere there. How are you managing them? What are you doing for them in that time? I think that's the key thing for me.
So I've decided to start a new segment of the show. Just decided right now. So we're gonna. So, weirdest experience you've ever had showing a home?
The what?
What's the weirdest experience you've ever had showing a home?
Weirdest experience ever. Fuck, I have to think about that. There's too many.
How many of them involve naked people?
They do not do naked people. I'm trying to think now. I don't think I've ever had a naked person talking with me. You did?
Oh yeah.
A naked person?
Oh yeah. Full, no clothes on in the shower.
Oh, I know mine. We've had to pick a, but I don't know if it's that weird as naked. So there was a guy who was in the house, but it was a condo, and I didn't know it was going to be in the condo, and he was just posing like that, like he was a warrior or something, right outside his house, and there was like all sorts of figurines and stuff. And it was really weird. It was really bizarre. He didn't say a word. And he was just like posing like that, really focused and just
Like, sort of like Tai Chi.
like a Tai Chi pose. Yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah, ours was, so we booked a showing, like we booked like 5 houses in a row. And I think we were like, like a couple, this is the last one. We were a little bit, we were like 15 minutes late for the appointment. But we had an hour booked. And, you know, knock on the door, open it, go in, and I hear water running. And I was like, oh, maybe they left something on. But just to check, I'm like, hello, anyone here? We're coming in for Remax, show the house. Nothing, silence. So I'm like, all right, you guys look at the kitchen, I'll go find the water, turn it off. Walk down, turn the corner, I see the lights on in the bathroom. Again, I yell out, is anyone here? There's no answer. I'm like, okay. The door's wide open, the bathroom, the light on, I hear the water running in there. I walk in, guy's probably about 50, probably like quite overweight. Looked like he was wearing a sweater without having a sweater on in the shower. Washed, like he was washing up here at the time, but yeah, and he did not see me. I just backed up, walked out, grabbed my clients who did not like that house. We're like, we're just gonna go.
I think that is a fair thing, yeah. Well, have
great
people
feedback to
hired?
that listing agent on showing though. How did you think of the house? Well, the naked guy was kind of a deterrent.
Does he come with the house?
Yeah. I always love talking to agents who've been in the business like 20 plus years. And this is what
They
I want
have
to
the
make it-
weirdest stories. They have the weirdest
Like
stories.
some that I probably shouldn't even put on camera. Okay, so we're just about to wrap up this episode because I have to go pick up my daughter at daycare.
Yes.
So before we go, if people were looking to hire you to do whatever they want with you, who are you looking to help?
That sounded so wrong. What's wrong
Yeah,
with
that's
you?
not the right way to word that. But
Can you reword that, please?
if someone's looking to hire you, who are you looking to have hire you, and what can you offer them?
Okay, so basically, like I said, my focus is entirely built around training. So any office that is in need for regular training sessions for their brokerage, especially if they've got a lot of new agents, because that's something that, you know, from my own experiences, you know, being behind a Walmart kiosk, like I said, I have, which by the way, I picked up a client from there. I think you know the story.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. He asked me if I knew where the bathroom was, and I think at that point I was so frustrated because I think the day was just, you know, I could just help people carry their grocery bags out, and that's pretty much about it. He's like, where's the bathroom? And I'm like, I'll tell you where the bathroom is if you give me some business. And he's like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, no, you're gonna have to hold that in because I am not gonna tell you. And it ended up being like an investor with like 16 assignment condos and whatnot, so the rest is history. But yeah, it worked out pretty well. But no, for going back to that, you know, I've built a really good new agent training program, which in my opinion, you know, it covers all the aspects that get agents kick-started in the right way. It doesn't include a lot of motivational stuff, so that I try to.
It's not our specialty.
It's not really my specialty,
Yeah.
so, you know, and I want to be honest about that. You know, my approach is very direct, it's very straight. It is the way that
Tactical.
I think. It's tactical, yes. I mean, you know, if you want to pay me to hold you accountable for your business, sure, I'll take your money, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's,
Awesome.
like I said, something that I do. And anybody that's looking for help with systems, because that's something I'm helping a lot of teams, especially bigger teams. And the best part about that is I'm working with teams that are really well established, big, renowned teams that already have systems, but because they are doing it the right way, they know that there's always something that they can implement that can make them more efficient. So I'm actually going in and consulting with a lot of teams that already have systems in place to figure out how we can strategically make them more efficient, and if there's any ways in which we can consolidate some of the stuff to make it more, you know, hands-on, and how we can make them more efficient as a team. Better communication, better systems, better checklists. So that's something I'm definitely, you know, doing quite a bit of.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Andrew. This is amazing. This is the nicest you've been to me since I've known you.
I don't know, in like little bits I might have been nice at some point.
Like on my birthday.
Yeah, I normally give you a nice birthday post. At least the first half of them.
Yes, that's true. So true.
Alright, well, stay tuned for next week when we have another guest that I haven't booked yet. But stay tuned.
That's honesty. Oh, and please, and hire Andrew to do your Facebook ads. And I'm not just saying that. Like,
That's
I
true.
actually mean that.
She's very nice sometimes when it's
Yeah.
on camera. This camera comes off. Completely different person.